What's going on, guys? Welcome back to This Is the Way, Season 1, Episode 7. If you haven't seen the show before, it's my quick Mandalorian review for every episode here. These are usually very quick. This one might be a little bit longer because I think this one has a lot going on. But I'm your host, Kyle. We got Baby Yoda here. We got This Is the Way shirt, the Mando helmet, a little bit of background here. So we're going to quickly recap. We're going to do some of our best scenes or some big moments, and then give it a score and see kind of how it stacks up to the rest of the season here. So Season 1, Episode 7 is called The Reckoning, and this one I think very, very good. So we start this one off. Mando gets a transmission from Carl Weathers' character, and he's like, hey, if you're seeing this, he's like, it means you're alive, and also means that I'm alive. And he's like, I know things didn't go very well last time, but he's like, if you can bring the package back here, he's like, things are not going so well. The client, Werner Herzog's character, he is now like controlling this place. It's under Imperial order, and he's like, we need to stop that. So he's like, how about you come in as bait? He's like, we'll get close enough. You kill him. We're good to go. He's like, I'll clear your name from the guild. He's like a man of your honor, doesn't deserve to live in exile. And as we saw the last couple episodes, Mando would just constantly be on the run for as long as he keeps Baby Yoda. So like his name with the guild is tarnished. He's on the run. He wants a clean record, and so he's like, this is the only opportunity I have. So he meets up with Cara Dune again, where he goes to see her. She it opens up. They have like this fist fighting like melee scene where they have like a weird like connecting belt, which is cool. It's like an electric connection, and then basically when someone taps out, which ends up being the bigger dude that she's fighting, they like tap the belt. But this is cool. They go back to the original planet. I didn't catch the name, Navid or something. I don't know. But anyway, he goes to see Kuiil, which is actually, I've been calling Khalil, so I may have just misread it, but that's just how it's pronounced. But he's the farmer. I've spoken because they're Cara Dune and Mando are kind of down in the ship looking at stuff, talking about like, hey, can we really trust Carl Weathers? And Mando's like, not really. I don't really trust him, but I don't have a choice. And then the ship starts going haywire, and they go back upstairs, and it's like Baby Yoda on the throttle. So they're like, she's like, we gotta get someone to watch that thing. She's like, do you have anyone you can trust? And he's like, oh, there is one person. So he goes to Kuiil. He's like, hey, I need you to watch the kid. They start discussing the plan. IG-11 comes in, and Mando and Cara Dune are like, they're freaking out. And he's like, no. He's like, let me tell you what happened. He's like, once you left, he's like, I went to the site where Baby Yoda was. He's like, I found IG-11, and he's like, he had nothing. He's like, I took the carcass, basically, and he's like, I reprogrammed him. He's like, I trained him how to, like, pour tea, how to be, like, a housebot, basically, or, like, a servant. And so Mando eventually is like, that thing was specifically programmed to kill the package, to kill Baby Yoda. And he's like, no, I rewired it. He's like, he was programmed for something else I know. He's programmed to serve me. And Mando's like, I don't know, I'm not buying it. But they kind of work together, and then eventually it's discussed that, yes, they're going to meet up with Carl Weathers, but like Mando said, he's like, I don't know if I trust him, so he brings Cara Dune and Kuiil with him. And he's like, you guys will be my backup, and then we'll kind of see how it goes. So they show up there. This is really cool. Everything in this episode looks really, really cool. They kind of go for like the wide shots. This felt a lot closer to the original trilogy for me, and closer to the pilot episode as well, than the last couple where it's been these small confined spaces. This one is like, I think Mandalorian does better when they're in open spaces and they just focus on the main story. This one gets back to the main story after a couple of side episodes, so I think that benefits the story as well, because that's really what we're here for, and why Baby Yoda is so important, and why so many people want him, and especially why the client wants him, Werner Herzog, because Carl Weathers is like, hey, he's not going to stop until he gets that child. He's obsessed with getting Baby Yoda, and we don't know why, but he's like, you got to do this. So they meet up with Carl Weathers. Everything's cool, we think. They start walking, and then he's like, all right, this is the plan. He's like, we get you in close. He's like, you have one shot, you kill him. He's like, most of the like the most he'll be with is 4 stormtroopers. He's like, that's all he does is carry a firing squad with him at most. And he's like, okay, well, what if there's more? He's like, well, we have backup here. Then they get attacked by like these. This is the only scene I didn't really like, but they get attacked by like these big flying like creatures. One of them takes like one of the bargs or whatever they're called, the animals that Mando learns to ride in the pilot, because they took 3 of those. Again, I don't know why they had to bring those, but Cara and Mando and then Quill, they all each ride those. But the troops in front of them, when they're going through like the lava fields, they're just walking normally, so I don't know why they can't just do that, but again, that's just kind of, we're just nitpicking there. But yeah, they get attacked in the middle of the night. They try shooting at these creatures and somehow miss like everything. I know it's dark out, but like they fire a lot of shots that miss. But Carl Weathers gets scratched. He's like on his dying breath, basically. Or not dying, but he's going to bleed out or he's got serious damage there. And, he's freaking out. He's like, I don't know what to do. And then that's when Baby Yoda heals him. And that's where we find out that Baby Yoda can heal people, because we haven't seen that to this point. Baby Yoda did try to heal Mando in the pilot, if we remember. Or not the pilot, I'm sorry, episode 2. When he keeps jumping out of his crib. But that's when Mando kept putting him back. But he heals him and they can't believe it. And so that's when they keep going the next day. They're like, we're going to go to the client. Carl Weathers turns around and he shoots both of the henchmen with him, his own guys. And he says, all right, Mando, I'm going to be honest with you. He's like, the plan was to kill you and to take the child. But he's like, honestly, after that child saving my life last night, he's like, I can't let that happen. And he's like, new plan is that we're going to go to the client. And he's like, you get close enough. He's like, you shoot him, kind of like the original plan, but except now it is the actual plan. And he's like, okay, but like we can't bring the child. And he's like, well, the plan doesn't work without the child. That's like the client needs to see that the child is there, like for proof, or this thing, it doesn't work. And he's like, I can't risk that. And so they're like, you know what, he's like, maybe we'll bring the pod and we'll keep Baby Yoda back at the ship there, and we'll try and make it work. Which is a risky plan, but he's like, all right, I guess that's the only thing we gotta do. But he's like, how about this, Mando? He's like, how about I bring you in cuffs, and that'll get us close enough. We'll bring the pod for just in case, but either way, we'll get there. Carl Weathers is convinced that like as soon as the client dies, the stormtroopers around him, they're gonna know that they're not gonna get paid. So he's like, they're gonna scatter, they're not gonna care. Carl Weathers is like, I'm gonna be their next form of alternate employment. And so he's like, nothing, there's a line where he actually says nothing is going to go wrong. And then, of course, that's when like the birds or the creatures attack there. But he's still pretty confident that this will work. Well, eventually Mando's like, all right, I agree. So Quill is watching Baby Yoda at the ship, or he's bringing Baby Yoda back to the ship, because the ship is like over here, and then they meet, or they're like making camp or whatever halfway. That's when they change the plan, and then they have to go to the client the other way. So they split up. Quill takes Baby Yoda back to the ship, or starts going towards the ship. Mando is like, all right, that's a good plan. So he puts on the cuffs. He gives Carl Weathers his blaster, and then they go into town. And he's like, hey, I got a prize for the boss here. And they bring him in to Werner Herzog's place, and he's like, oh yes, what a nice package. And he's like, oh, let me see the child, and because the pod is closed. And Carl Weathers is like, he's sleeping. And he's like, okay. He's like, we will be very quiet. And then a little too convenient for my liking, right when he's like persistent about opening the hatch just to get proof that Baby Yoda is in there, which we know he's not. That's when he gets a call from Moff Gideon. And this is really, really cool because Moff Gideon is played by Giancarlo Esposito, most appropriately known for his work as Gus Fring. He's also going to be in the new Far Cry game that's coming out. Giancarlo Esposito is awesome. He steals every scene that he's in, and he's a power actor. I'm really glad that they got him for Mandalorian, and he has an awesome debut. So he gets, he sends a little transmission, and he's like, did you bring the child? And Werner's like, yes, it is sleeping. And he's like, well, maybe you should check again. and then he just gets riddled with bullets. There's like a bullet storm that comes through, and then we get this awesome scene where like, so the client is dead, but then we find out he's just kind of a pawn in the bigger game, and Moff Gideon is really the big it's kind of like the apprentice and the master type of deal with like Palpatine and Vader, where we thought Vader was the big bad guy, but it was really Palpatine. Same sort of deal where the client is just a pawn in Moff Gideon's game, and so he's just dispensable, or expendable, I should say. So they kind of blow out the wall, and then we have like a cool vehicle come up, and like 25 stormtroopers come up. We have Moff Gideon's badass like stormtroopers in like the black, like they're like the elite troopers, where they're in like the black stormtrooper outfit. There's like 5 of those. That is awesome. And Moff Gideon strolls up, and he's like, Cara Dune's like, who's this guy? And you know, we have no idea, but obviously he's like the real threat. So Moff Gideon is like, hey, you have something that I'd like, but in a few seconds I'm going to obtain it. And somehow when Mando is like communicating to Quill, the stormtroopers like pick that up. I don't know, they must be on the same frequency or something, but there's like 2 stormtroopers that hear that, and he's like, did you bring the child back to the ship? And then they're like, oh shit, we should go get the child. So they hop on the speeder bikes, and they're way faster than this little thing that Quill is riding, and so there's like a dramatic scene, but you just know he's gonna get caught. But yeah, Quill shows up, those guys are pinned down. He's like, look, new plan. He's like, bring Baby Yoda back to the ship and get out of here. And he's like, Quill, can you hear me? And then as we see the stormtrooper, Baby Yoda's on the ground, so sad. Stormtrooper comes in on a speeder bike, swoops him up, and then we get the final shot where it cuts up to Quill, and Quill is dead. And it's a sad moment because Quill has spoken for the last time. But yeah, this one, for a score, I'm giving this one a 9-4. This is really good. This is by far, I think, the best episode of the season. But again, it's because it focused on wider landscapes. It focused on the main plot. And what makes The Mandalorian so good is the interesting character dynamics. I think last episode with the prisoner, they kind of threw, Bill Burr was great, but they threw that group together, and while they were a fun group of kind of ragtag characters, the Mandalorian works best when it's Carl Weathers and The Mandalorian. Cara Dune's done a great job, or I can't think of her name right now, but Gina Carano, she's done a great job filling in there, but like the main set of characters and their interactions is what makes the show so strong. So I'm glad that they went back to that, and they went back to kind of just the classic settings here and not small spaces. The Mandalorian, like I said, works better with the landscapes and as opposed to like the indoor environments without being too different. But you can tell the production value was definitely higher for this episode, the penultimate episode of season 1, because I mean, between the stormtroopers, the way it comes in, Moff Gideon shows up on this awesome TIE fighter, and it comes in and then the wings like flatten down as it lands. It's so cool. I've never seen a TIE fighter do that before, so all that is awesome. You can tell Moff is part of something bigger, so really gets you excited for the season finale, and I think it's just a step up in every aspect. The sound is awesome. But yeah, this is the best one by far, and I hope season 2 going forward. And then I think they're probably going to do a season 3, they already announced, but any seasons going forward, I hope the production value is closer to this episode than some of the previous ones. So thumbs up for me all the way. Yeah. So that's it, guys. That's season 1, episode 7 of This Is the Way. This is episode 7 overall of This Is the Way. So thank you for joining me. Again, I've been your host, Kyle. Baby Yoda, we will get him back. We are going to rescue him. I promise. We can't go too far without him. But thank you guys for joining. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the other content on the channel. Check out the other episodes. We're almost caught up here, getting up to season 2, and then we'll just be posting once a week when those after those air. So until next time, guys, this is the way.